In 1985, one of the most powerful companies in the world made a decision so catastrophic, so colossally wrong, that TV networks interrupted their regular programming to report the aftermath. No war, no disaster, no assassination, just a soda company changing its recipe. People formed protest groups. They hoarded cases of the original drink in their basements. One man drove 100 miles just to buy the last bottles he could find. Another spent $1,000 stockpiling cans from a local bottler. The company's phone lines were overwhelmed. 40,000 angry letters flooded headquarters. This is the story of the Cola Wars, a 50-year business battle between two giants that rewrote the rules of marketing, celebrity, psychology, and capitalism itself. And it all started with a single, audacious move from the underdog. To understand the war, you need to understand who was fighting it. 1886. Atlanta, Georgia. A pharmacist named John Pemberton mixes together a syrup made of coca leaves and cola nuts, originally marketing it as a nerve tonic. He sells it to soda fountains for 5 cents a glass. He has no idea he's just invented the most recognized product in human history. By the early 1900s, Coca-Cola is everywhere. It's in drugstores, diners, gas stations. The red logo becomes as American as the flag. The company doesn't just sell a drink, it sells a feeling. Happiness, summer, home. For decades, they have virtually no competition. They are the cola. Then, in 1893, up in North Carolina, another pharmacist invents his own sugar drink. He calls it Brad's Drink. Nobody buys it, so he renames it Pepsi Cola. And even then, for most of the 20th century, Pepsi is a distant second, an afterthought, a cheap knockoff. Coke has 60% of the market. Pepsi has less than 20%. For decades, nothing changes. Then, Pepsi hires a new marketing team, and everything changes. 1975, Dallas, Texas. Pepsi sets up tables in shopping malls across America. They pour 2 cups of unmarked cola. They ask people to choose which one tastes better. No labels, no branding, no red, no blue. Just taste. And the results are stunning. More people choose Pepsi, consistently, in city after city, test after test. Pepsi films these tests and turns them into TV commercials. Real people, real reactions, choosing Pepsi over Coke without even knowing it. The Pepsi challenge isn't just a taste test. It's a psychological weapon. It's saying, your loyalty to Coke is irrational. Your taste buds prefer us. You've been wrong your whole life. Inside Coca-Cola's headquarters in Atlanta, the reaction is uncomfortable, because their own internal research confirms it. When people taste both drinks blind, without seeing the labels, they prefer Pepsi. Coca-Cola, the king of the world, tastes worse. At least in a blind sip test, their market share starts to slip. Not collapse, slip. But for a company that has been on top for 90 years, any movement downward feels like free fall. The executives get nervous, and nervous executives make desperate decisions. Meanwhile, Pepsi is not done. It's 1983. Michael Jackson has just released Thriller, the best-selling album in history. He is not just a musician. He is a cultural phenomenon, a global icon, the most famous human being on the planet. And Pepsi's CEO, Roger Enrico, wants him. Here's what makes this moment remarkable. Pepsi's team first brought the idea to Coca-Cola. They offered Michael Jackson to Coke first. Coca-Cola said no. They offered $1 million and called it a targeted ethnic campaign. Jackson's team rejected it immediately. Pepsi said yes, and they said it with $5 million. The largest celebrity endorsement deal in history at that point. For context, the biggest star in sports at the time was earning $400,000 a year to advertise rental cars. Pepsi didn't just buy an ad. They co-created something with Jackson. They reworked his hit Billie Jean, one of the most famous songs ever recorded, and turned it into a Pepsi commercial that looked more like a music video than an advertisement. It airs during the Super Bowl. 77 million people watch it. Pepsi doesn't interrupt the entertainment. Pepsi becomes the entertainment. The advertising industry is never the same again. This single deal invents modern celebrity marketing. Every influencer deal, every brand partnership, every sponsored song you've heard in the last 40 years, it all traces back to this moment. Pepsi's sales hit $7.7 billion in 1984. Their market share rises, Coca-Cola's drops. The giant is panicking now. What Coca-Cola does next is one of the most studied, most dissected decisions in the history of business. They spend 2 years running 190,000 taste tests across the United States and Canada. They reformulate their recipe, make it slightly sweeter, closer to what people were choosing in Pepsi's blind tests. And in their tests, 61% of consumers prefer the new formula over both original Coke and Pepsi. The data is perfect. The logic is airtight. On April 23, 1985, CEO Roberto Goizueta walks up to a podium and announces, "The best has been made even better. New Coke is born." What follows is nothing short of mass hysteria. Within days, the company's phone lines triple in volume. All complaints. 40,000 angry letters arrive at Atlanta headquarters. People hold protests outside Coca-Cola offices with signs reading, "We want the real thing." Consumers begin hoarding cases of the original formula. One man drives 100 miles to a bottler. Another spends $1,000 stockpiling cans. Sales of new Coke drop 20% in the first 2 months. Here's what Coca-Cola got wrong. And this is the lesson that still echoes through every marketing class today. They measured taste. They never measured identity. Coca-Cola wasn't just a drink for millions of people, it was a ritual. It was their grandmother's kitchen. It was summer afternoons. It was childhood. You don't change someone's childhood and call it an improvement. Their research asked, "Do you prefer this flavor?" They never asked, "How would you feel if we took the original away forever?" The company had confused the product with the brand, and by the time they understood the difference, the damage was done. 79 days after New Coke launched, Roberto Goizueta called an emergency board meeting. On July 11, 1985, Coca-Cola held another press conference. This time, a very different message. "Our boss is the consumer. We want them to know we're really sorry." Original Coca-Cola returns as Coca-Cola Classic. Television networks break into their regular programming to announce it, like a moon landing, like the end of a war. Within 48 hours, bottlers ordered 24 million cases. Now here's the part that nobody talks about. After the debacle, after the protests, the outrage, the corporate humiliation, Coca-Cola Classic outsells everything. It outsells what original Coke was doing before New Coke launched. Sales surge. Brand loyalty reaches levels the company had never seen. Some people inside Coca-Cola would later whisper a conspiracy theory. What if it was planned? What if triggering public outrage was the most brilliant marketing move of the century? The official answer is absolutely not. It was a disaster, and they got lucky. But here's the uncomfortable truth. It doesn't matter. Whether it was accident or genius, the result was the same. Coca-Cola made its customers realize how much they loved the product by threatening to take it away. That is marketing at its most powerful and most primal. By 2010, both Coke and Diet Coke outsell Pepsi for the first time. Pepsi falls to third place in their own category. The cola wars never ended. They evolved. So who won the cola wars? Coke won the market share battle. They are still number one. But Pepsi won something arguably more important. Pepsi proved that a smaller brand could wound a giant through smarter marketing. They invented the blind taste test as a weapon. They invented the modern celebrity endorsement. They pioneered the idea that a brand could buy a cultural moment, not just airtime. Every lesson from the cola wars is embedded in modern marketing. Nike signing athletes, Apple creating desire through scarcity, Red Bull sponsoring extreme sports instead of buying TV slots. Every influencer you follow, every brand deal you scroll past, these are the children of the cola wars, and there's a deeper lesson. One that matters whether you're building a $100 billion brand or a YouTube channel. Data can tell you what people prefer in the moment. It cannot tell you what they love. Coca-Cola had perfect data. They ran 190,000 tests. They had the numbers, and they were catastrophically, historically wrong because they measured preference and ignored identity. The best brands don't ask, what do people want right now? They ask, who do people want to be? Pepsi said, you are young, rebellious, forward looking, you choose Pepsi. Coca-Cola said, you are home, family, memory, America. You are Coke. Both were right, both made billions. And in a battle between youth and nostalgia, nostalgia won. The Cola Wars taught us that business isn't just economics, it's theater, it's identity, it's psychology dressed up in a can. Two soda companies spent 50 years fighting over sugar water, and in doing so, they invented modern advertising, the celebrity endorsement industry, and the emotional brand. Next time you reach for a Coke or a Pepsi, you're not choosing a flavor. You're choosing a story you want to be part of. If you found this story interesting, subscribe, because next week we're covering a company that invented its own technology, buried it for 20 years, and got destroyed by it. You already know which company it is.